So why'd you do it? Why'd you pod fade? Why did you quit?
I had no idea getting into it that I would have to spend 6 hours editing and 6 hours promoting my episodes.
I didn't know it was going to be so hard.
I expected it to be really popular. I mean, my podcast topic was so good and powerful, my production quality was good, but I never got more than 50 downloads per episode.
It was fun, but nobody ever listened to it, man. And I'm grabbing my balls, but you can't see it.
My co-host quit.
Whatever the reason you quit or have taken a break from your show, you're not alone. The majority of people who start a podcast never make it to 10 episodes. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But the most common three are realizing the amount of work that actually goes into sustaining and growing a podcast, expectations that were not met, nobody ever seemed to listen or stay for very long, and no quick payout or realistic income in the immediate future. Podcasting is really fun and incredibly rewarding, but it's also very difficult, and it will push you into discomfort, it will force you into facing personal and professional demons and challenges, and you'll likely need to reinvent or restart your podcast many times before seeing the payoff that you know you deserve. But if you're watching this video, then you're still a little bummed that you gave up or that you lost the drive. You still want to be in the world of podcasting, and you still believe in your ideas. Well, you're in the right place today, Podski, and thanks for hanging out with me. If it's your first time at the Pod Sound School, I'm Studio Steve, an audio guy, podcast producer, and coach. I've had many podcasts. Some were flops or personal letdowns, and others knocked me off my feet with the success and the experiences and relationships they fostered. I've been in the podcasting space for a few years now, and I have to say, my love for the medium is continuing to grow. One thing I've become more aware of, watching client shows and brands grow and hearing testimonials from students and fellow podcasters in the podcasting community, is that having a podcast or multiple podcasts or working in the podcasting industry can be an absolute life changer. And for countless people, it's the push they needed to grow into who they always were. It's an amazing stepping stone for us to get out of our comfort zone and climb into a better version of ourselves and our professional pursuits. So hang with me, and by the end of this video, that feeling of bummed outness or confusion will go away, and you'll know how to move forward and be pumped to start with something new or revamp the show that's on hiatus. Okay, so the first thing to do to stamp out that bummedness and to get the creative juices flowing is to check in with our why.
Why do I want to have a podcast?
Why am I podcasting?
Why am I doing this?
Then we check in with the what.
What is the most unique part of my personality?
What am I most passionate and excited about?
What's the strangest thing about me?
And now let's go to the where.
Where are my podcast listeners hanging out?
Where do people go to exchange ideas and talk about my podcast topic?
And finally, let's check in with the most important of the W's, and that's the who.
Who would be interested in my podcast?
Who can I make a podcast for?
Checking in and really meditating on all of these questions will help you to get really organized and realistic with your expectations. Now that we've checked in with our purpose, let's check in with reality.
Reality check.
Out of all of the clients and students we have worked with, many of them had a great reception and a good handful of listeners right off the bat, thanks to our awesome podcast launch and promotion strategy. But after the initial launch, all of their podcasts have taken serious time, many of them over 6 months to 2 years, to really start seeing results. But their dedication is really paying off. Monetization, authority in their field, speaking opportunities, client generation, lead generation, and there are, of course, many things you can do to speed up the growth process. But the reality is that podcasting is a long-term game. I've always been a huge dreamer and encourage people to give into huge and lavish dreams because I really believe that those are a reality for you. But what I've learned on my painstaking journey as someone whose life struggle has been to make a living being creative is that the lofty and huge dreams need to be balanced with lofty and huge systems and schedules and tasks. So that's what we're gonna do. We'll let ourselves dream huge, and then we'll start taking notes and looking into the future. So let's do that together right now with our new shows. First, we need to decide and commit to a posting schedule, both podcast and social media, and if you're super ambitious, blog posts and email marketing. We're gonna need to decide things like,
Will I have seasons?
How will I organize my seasons?
When will I take breaks?
Will I repurpose my podcast episodes into blog posts or email?
How many times will I post on social media each week?
What 1 to 2 social media platforms am I going to dominate?
And an example of something like this would be, each week I'm going to post one podcast episode with a detailed description and captivating title. And then, for example, a weekly Instagram strategy. One post each week that talks about the episode's topic, one IG reel every week around the topic, daily IG stories discussing interesting topics around my show, and 1 hour, 3 days a week of engagement, liking and commenting on my ideal listeners and communities posts, starting conversations. And then I would have a Twitter strategy, which would be like one tweet every day, scheduled once a month. Little thoughts or questions about my show's topic. Following, liking, commenting, and engaging with a few people every day for 15 minutes. 2 promotional tweets a week, enticing people to come check out the pod. And now that we have our desired weekly content mapped out, we can schedule. So let's say with the research, writing, recording, and editing, it takes me 10 hours per episode. Now, I can look at creating some systems like batch writing and recording. This way, I can be ahead of myself and always have a few episodes in the bank so I never miss a week. Maybe now is also a good time to look into hiring a podcast editor. There are countless professionals who will edit your podcast for a great rate, and I promise this one expense alone will be the best money you'll ever put into your podcast because it saves you like 2 to 4 to 6 hours every episode. So that way you can just become a batch writing and recording machine and send over batches of recordings to your podcast editor. So in addition to the podcast production, we now also need to schedule time to repurpose our podcast and our writing for our podcast or that copy into social media content and email newsletters or blog posts.
Oh, darling, email marketing is wonderful.
Let's say, for example, I have a system put in place that quickly allows me to convert my episode scripts into blog posts, emails, social media copy, etc. But this still takes me a few hours for each episode. This is yet another task that you can outsource or pay somebody to do, or commission a team member or co-host or friend to do this each week. And now we just continue with the same process until we have a rough amount of time that we need to commit to each week, and how much time we need to get other people to help us with each week. Growing a podcast is time consuming. Get people to help you with it, and you'll grow a lot faster. Don't be afraid to outsource tasks like podcast editing. Your time is always worth more than the outsourcing expense. And finally, to finish up, let's put all of this thought and work together and build a killer launch or relaunch strategy. Let's really take a look at what our brand is, what our tagline is, how people will describe our shows, our elevator pitch. Let's look at our use of colors and fonts. Then we'll set a date and we'll get a good batch of episodes and social assets ready. Maybe come back with 3 episodes right out of the gates, all at once with your launch. And make sure to plan enough time to do 2 weeks of pre-promotion and building up a ton of hype. You still with me? If so, give me a thumbs up on this video. Even though this is a lot of work, especially for just one person, it's totally doable. But you're going to need to commit to a minimum of 10 to 20 hours a week. If you have a co-host or someone on your team, you can split that time up. With this kind of commitment and using that social media engagement to empower and inspire your episodes, you will grow and go places with your podcast. I guarantee it. So what do you think? Are you up for the challenge? Let me know your thoughts here in the comments of this video and I'll personally respond. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, make sure to do that so you can be notified on YouTube when we post new podcasting videos every week. Also, if you want to trim off even more time and grow even faster and avoid making common mistakes, we offer premium online courses for podcasting and content creation. Check the description box below for more information about PodSound School's online courses. We really give our students VIP treatment, and if you're serious about taking your podcast places, we can seriously help you do that. So that's it for me this time, Pod Doggy. I know you're gonna kick ass with your cast, and until we meet again,
Happy casting, podcastero.
Happy casting.
Good. I don't believe it.